Always look on the bright side of life, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News. The Telegraph has written about Chelsea's grand schemes, why they're going to be, hopefully, the big boys in the future, and why they're looking to buy Sporting. Let's jump into it. So make yourselves comfortable, settle in, pour yourselves a drink. We are citing an article from The Telegraph today written by Sam Wallace talking about Wagwan with Chelsea Football Club, what they're actually really doing. They've spent a lot of money, they brought in loads of players, but do they have a plan? Do they know what they're doing? This, of course, is a recurring theme in the world of the Chelsea ownership, one that us Chelsea content creators reflect on all the ruddy time, but I'm quite interested and excited to go through this article with you and find out together what's being said. I'm ready, hope you're ready too. Alright then, let's hop into it. The new owners of Chelsea have ended the transfer window last month, having broken £1 billion in transfer fees since their takeover in May last year. Although the investment is by no means likely to end simply because they cannot sign another player until January. The consortium led by Igbal and Todd Boley may yet acquire a stake in Sporting CP, one of the Portuguese's big three. Yes, they've spent a lot of money, and we all know about the satellite club model. They've already bought Strasbourg. They want to buy a Belgium team. They want to buy a Liga NOS team. Sporting. Didn't think they'd go as big as Sporting, but heck. They also want to buy a Brazilian team. This has long been the plan. We knew about this as soon as they bought Chelsea. So it's just a sort of reminder of that. The relationship between Igbal and Boley is crucial to the future of Chelsea. Their personal dynamic affects everything from the confidence of their big investors to the match-going fan. Co-ownership has not been a common theme in the modern Premier League, and it will be fascinating to watch develop. Over the summer window, according to a well-placed source, Chelsea's ownership were, quote, continuously thinking about what a 100-point team looks like and putting together the right players who will make that 100-point team. Ambitious. Well, look, people might laugh and think, yeah, we're sitting in 12th, mate, and, you know, it's all very well to dream about 100 points and spend all this money, but we gotta win football games now. You gotta hand it to these guys. They are dreaming of big, you know, they want the Man City Centurions, the Pep Guardiola 100 points. They're like, man, that's what you need to do. That's how you consistently win. What team consistently gets 100 points? Let's build that. Bloody horror! The team is currently stuck on 4 points though, with just 1 win and 2 defeats, including Nottingham Forest at home before the international break. The club's owners are, as both have done throughout their investment careers, taking a position in what historically proved a volatile market. Chelsea's future rests on them being right. It is typically ambitious target for Boley and Igbal, achieved just once in the Premier League era by, of course, Man City in 17-18. The two Americans are very different men, united in the consortium to buy Chelsea for £2.5 billion, with a further £1.75 billion pledged for investment. Since May last year, they have torn up the approach to success the world's most globally popular sporting league. They have pursued their vision relentlessly with an astonishing scale of investment, big sales, and 4 managers already. Yeah, they've come in, they've thrown their weight around big time, and people don't like it, do they? You got people on TalkSport really upset by them spending money and doing long contracts and selling big names. I mean, ultimately they can do what they want, if you know, and they're not asset stripping Chelsea. They want 100 points. They want an 100-point team. I can't get my head around that. Let's keep going. A taste of the American dream. Igbal is 47 years old. He was born in Tehran and moved to California with his family aged 10 in 1986. It was a common path at the time for many Iranian families living under military draft rules that meant males aged 12 and over required special dispensation to leave the country. He went on via Berkeley to found the private equity fund Clear Lake Capital in 2006 with partner Jose E. Feliciano, who himself moved to the United States as a child from Puerto Rico, speaking not a word of English. Feliciano went to Princeton, Goldman Sachs, and went on to private equity success. Yeah, you often see pictures of Jose Feliciano and Igbal together. They are the two sort of Clear Lake big men who that show themselves around Chelsea related things, but really it's Boley and Igbal are the two main men. And actually, of course, it's the done thing to talk about, oh, Todd Boley owns Chelsea, Todd Boley needs to sell Chelsea, Todd Boley is ruining Chelsea and all that. He's a minority stakeholder. It's Clearlake who own Chelsea, and really Igbal is the big boy. He's not the face that you see all the time, but he's the one that like goes to get deals done, that closes the, the Mudryk and Caicedo deals and stuff like that. When the big money's being spent, he's the one that's there, maybe even Enzo as well. For both men, a taste of the American dream. Their investment company Clearlake has 70 billion euros worth of funds in its total control. That fund owns around 65% of the consortium that owns Chelsea. When it comes to Chelsea, Igbal is the ultimate in control. See, I told you, Igbal is the big boy at Chelsea, but people just talk about Todd Boley because I think it's almost desired effect for him to be like the face of the club. He was shaking hands, kissing babies early doors, waving at Stamford Bridge like, yo, we're gonna fix Chelsea, dog. Not that he talks like that. So Boley, who is 49, grew up in Maryland as a high school wrestling champion, had more of a conventional path to success via college in the US and the London School of Economics. He is routinely described by his company office, Eldridge, as a financier with an interest in sport rather than private equity investor. He is now Chelsea chairman and was at the meeting of the powers of European football last week, the European Club Association, with the other owners, chairman and chief executives to iron out the last details of the £15 billion or euro deal with UEFA for the next 3 years from 2024. As club representatives jockeyed for a few minutes with European football's most powerful man, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, upon his arrival with an entourage in the meeting halls of the Berlin Intercontinental Hotel, the Qatari national headed over to shake the hand of Boley. The ECA and Paris Saint-Germain chairman and director of the Qatar Investment Fund knows what alliances are most useful. This will be Boley's chairman role at Chelsea in the future, speaking to Premier League shareholder meetings and the league's influential working groups to help the executive examine its approach to the big questions of the day. He will do the same with UEFA and ECA and have no doubt the aim to get himself closer to the inner sanctum of the latter, while Al-Khelaifi currently holds sway. Dun dun dun! It's like the Illuminati of football, isn't it? But Boley's always knew about this. The first thing he did when he owned Chelsea is like, right, who's the big shakers? The movers and shakers. He sat down with Jorge Mendes. He's met with other, he went and had meetings with Barcelona, this, that, and the other. He speaks to a lot of people. He wants to be, because the thing is with Boley, he's hugely ambitious in terms of the Premier League being undervalued. The Premier League is the biggest thing in the world. Football's the biggest thing in the world, and the Premier League is the biggest thing of that thing. He thinks it's hugely undervalued in so many ways. So he held a Premier League meeting when they first bought Chelsea with all the Premier League owners and said, look guys, I just want to say hi, we bought Chelsea, how you doing? But also, boys and girls, just, people, we're all not making enough money here, and we can make loads more. And this is obviously ideas about streaming platforms, dedicated streaming platforms, branding, marketing, how assets represent themselves with branding and stuff. Huge ideas. A lot of it's taken from American sports, but it's trying to sort of transcribe it to the Premier League. And so far, it sounds pretty distasteful and unsavory, but none of it's ruining football. It's just keeping the product as it is, but making it more available and making it more money. Sounds okay so far. Boley launched the Chelsea takeover when the club was placed in sanctions by the British government last year, and then ultimately was put up for sale. Boley recruited Igbal and Clearlake as the major investor. Boley was the self-appointed director of football when the new ownership was launched in the transfer window last summer, when they gained control. The big calls to sack Tuchel and then hire his successor Graham Potter have flowed from Igbal. Ooh! The two subsequent transfer windows this year came to a conclusion at the end of the month. Igbal was in London overseeing the deals. See, I told you Igbali's the big money, like, here comes the money! He's the one that comes in towards the end when the real money has to be spent. I think actually, he's just the big boy in the operation, but doesn't like to be seen as that, maybe? The pair have recruited heavily in executives as well as footballers. A new chief executive in Chris Jurasik has been hired to work at the Clearlake affiliated company for the 4th time in his career. Yeah, Jurasik came in, he's already a Clearlake man. Obviously they back him as a good financial guy to make loads of money. bring him into Chelsea, juice up Chelsea's marketing and whatever, deals more, I guess like shirt deals, brand deals, make us more money, dude. That's what we want you to do. Claire Cronin, formerly of McLaren Racing, has arrived as Chief Marketing Officer. In recruitment, of course, we've got the two new sporting directors in Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, as well as Joe Shields. From the old regime, Academy stalwarts Neil Bath and Jim Frazier have been promoted and their roles expanded. Yet the big plan for the two windows this year, the emphasis on signing players aged 25 and under, secured on long-term contracts, and a mass sale including the Academy golden boy Mason Mount, came from the two men in charge. They believe that it offers them security over the club's chief assets, the players, and ultimately a lower wage bill. Whether those players are capable of conquering English football is the big unknown. Yeah, essentially they've looked at, these players on too much money, not Mason Mount, he was on a low contract, but the other players bringing down the wage bill massively. A recurring theme in The Athletic, we're reading off the Telegraph, is that the new ownership think the Chelsea players are massively overpaid. And there's like an Abramovich era tax where they just get paid loads of money regardless, because we're like, free, we're just relentless winning Chelsea, and if you come here, you get loads of money, don't worry about it, mate. But in the terms, they believe the investment should be in the acquisition of the asset and not paying the asset. And we've obviously spoken about this before here on the channel, that you have incentivized base contracts. So if you play well, if you win, you get more money, but your basic is still good. It's still going to be better than how you were being paid at whatever club in Europe you are. But you have the scope to win more, and you're going to get to be part of this amazing project that we're all selling to you. The long-term contract strategy. The concern over players drifting into free agency can be traced back to the departures, of course, Christensen and Rudiger in the first weeks of the consortium takeover. That stung Igbal and Boley, who were dismayed that players that the club had signed, paid, and especially in the case of Christensen, developed, were leaving for no return. The long contract strategy was in part a reaction to that. A typical 5-year deal, in reality, the pair, they believe, only a 3-year deal before decision has to be made on the sale or renewal, lest the player may begin to slide on free agency. Yeah, essentially, sign or sell. Don't mess about. The trend post-COVID has been more players to go closer to the end of their contracts. Indeed, both Conor Gallagher and Ian Maatsen have 2 years left respectively. A Chelsea plan that this no longer happens. As for the wage bill, younger players that are at the earlier part of the salary curve and thus cheaper, those who become superstars, the plan goes, will eventually be paid accordingly. As things stand, the average age of the squad has tumbled close to that of Arsenal. There are hopes Chelsea's next financial results, after the 14 first-team departures this summer and 11 incoming, may see more than 20% cut from what the ownership believes was a bloated salary cost base. Yeah, apparently we're going to save millions and millions on salary, which is pretty impressive. Time will tell, although there can be no questioning the volume of deals or indeed the expense. Twice they broke the British transfer record. More than 60 deals has been concluded already under their ownership. Over 60 deals. That is absolutely mental when you think of it like that. Crazy. There are evidently major questions over the long-term contract strategy, not least the difficulty of moving on those who fail to make the grade. The ownership's belief is that the salaries will be realistic enough that there will be a resale market with the Premier League. That was much less the case with those higher paid misadventures of the past, Romelu Lukaku among them. To be fair, yes, that is actually a massive plus. Ziyech we couldn't flog for ages for the high wages. Lukaku couldn't flog because of the high wages. Kepa is on ridiculous wages for a goalkeeper. Probably just because, he was so much money and we had to put him a lot of money. Yes, loads of players. So when they're on much lower wages, they're much more sellable as assets. The players themselves de-risked the club's strategy outlines with 8 or 9 years of guaranteed income. It goes on to explain that the ones that the club believe will be losing out is the player agents, who get loads of money every time their player renews, every time they sign on. They get massive sign-on bonuses. Like, it's a great example of Erling Haaland. Everyone thinks, oh, they got Erling Haaland for 60 million quid, Man City. But actually, the truth is the signing on bonus is the agent bonus, and of course the biblical level of wages and bonus wages make him an incredibly expensive signing. but I don't think Man City care because he's a phenomenon. This article goes on and on. It's behind a paywall, so I suggest you go and read it if you want. It's very interesting. But ultimately, it does bring home all the main things. How Chelsea's owners, they want to change the game. They want to make it so they don't waste money on players anymore long term. I know that sounds silly after huge original outlays, but seemingly they've done the math for financial fair play and indeed for their own project, and they believe this is the way to go. They believe the Premier League is massively undervalued in terms of finances, and they want to find a way to expand on that, and not just themselves, bring their colleagues in the space with them, the other teams. So much stuff to consider as well. But ultimately, the thing that we care about most, the fans, is they want to build an 100-point team. Incredible, really. We seem just a world away from that, but they're playing the long game, I guess. So, very, very interesting. I loved reading the portion of this article we've read together. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you believe in it or you don't believe in it. Please do comment down below. I welcome you guys to subscribe and hitting the bell if you want to. And thank you for liking the video. Alright, keep it locked to Football Therapy, and I'll see you very soon.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo, chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me, baby.